Hi folks, you're with Tassless today. Tassless Day, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the leadership contenders for the UK Conservative Party. Now, in the recent election, the Conservatives lost a lot of seats, and I think they've got 120 odd seats at the moment in the British Parliament. And the leader, the party leader that the globalists installed a year or so ago, Rishi Sunak, was installed without a vote of anybody. The globalists just put him in there. That's the power the globalists have over the UK at the moment. They can just install whichever politician they want. And if somebody like Liz Truss manages to somehow get in by the vote, then they can just get rid of that elected by the party membership. They can just get rid of Liz Truss at whim, at will. The leader elected by the people got rid of. The leader elected by the party membership got rid of, and then just install this Indian guy, Rishi Sunak, who the minute he gets in, walks in the door, turbocharges mass immigration and does all sorts of cozy deals to satisfy and meet the demands of his masters, the globalists. So that's where British politics is at now. That once great empire, Britain, and the once mighty Conservative Party, the party of the Winston Churchills and Margaret Thatcher and Sir Robert Peel, William Pitt, and so on. They're all that party no longer exists as a party of the British people or the British electorate. They no longer represent the British people. They are just little flunky stooges, pathetic little flunky stooges running around doing what the globalists tell them to do, order them to do, and that they must do. So we can assume that the four contenders for the leadership of the Conservative Party are pre-approved by the globalists. Otherwise, I can't imagine they would have got this far. Maybe they're not fully approved by the globalists. Maybe they'll put a word out of, they'll say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they'll be suddenly disincluded in the leadership contest. But right now, the globalists obviously don't oppose them standing for the leadership position. So now there are, I think, 7 black, about 5% of the Conservative membership in political operative terms, about 5%, I think, are black, as in parliamentarians, and yet 2 of the 4 contenders are black. Now, how that comes about is beyond me, but anyway. Now, apparently 2 others, if I've understood the scuttlebutt correctly, 2 others, Kwasi Kwarteng and another black person. So 4 of the 7 black parliamentarians all fancy themselves as leadership material of the British United Kingdom Conservative Party. Now that in itself is wow. I mean, what a humiliation! What a humiliation of Britain, of the Conservative Party, and of the interests of white Indigenous Britons. This is quite astonishing. So out of the 113 or so, 110, whatever it is, white parliamentarians in the Conservative Party in the federal parliament, only two are putting their hand up for the leadership. Now, does this mean that the leadership is some sort of poison chalice that nobody really wants? Does it mean that none of these other people are up to it, or they don't aspire to any positions of responsibility, or do they all perceive that the globalists are deciding everything anyway, so why should they bother? Why don't they just stay on as passengers, just collecting their salary, pretending to care and do things for the British people, but in reality all they're wanting to serve the globalists in one way or another? Now, serving the globalists, of course, has its benefits. So, the gravy that can be dispersed to parliamentarians can be quite considerable. So, there's lots and lots of committees that the Parliament puts up to investigate this or oversee that. I mean, they're paper tigers and toothless tigers and a whole, but they're there doing that sort of thing. And these parliamentary committees abound. And if you get a membership or you get appointed to some of these committees, you can get £10,000 a year for having to go to a once a month meeting, and you pretend that you're reading a lot of stuff, but you get interns and flunkies in your office to do the reading and just give you a summary or a bullet point overview. So you're not doing the heavy lifting, but you're collecting the $10,000 a year. Now, if you can be appointed to half a dozen of these committees, maybe more, you can come close to doubling your income. Instead of 80, instead of 100, for example, I don't know what the exact dollars are, but instead of $100,000 a year income, you can be on $200,000 a year just by being on these committees. You can get even more if you get deputy chair or chairman of these committees. You can very substantially increase your income. On top of that, the every time the Parliament goes into recess, there are all sorts of international study tours and goodness knows what that go on, and a lot of international travel, and you can get allocated. Oh yeah, well, you can go to do very demanding work on the beachfront in Tahiti or something like that, and you have a 5-minute meeting with some local Tahitian politician or public servant, and that's it, box ticked, and the rest of the time you're swimming in the nice blue lagoons in the tropical temperatures and so on, and all this is on the taxpayer's dime. So you can get international travel. And we're talking first class. We're not talking cattle class and staying in, the best Western 2-star hotels on the main highway. We're talking 5-6-star type quality accommodation and transport. So, and you get to take the family. So you can take your partner and children and so on these lavish holidays, all at the taxpayer's expense. Now, this gift, the ability to disperse these gifts and these goodies, is totally controlled by those who are in turn totally controlled by the globalists. If you displease them in any way, you find yourself, you're not in any committees and you're not getting any international travel, or the travel you might get will be somewhere around the corner or so. You're not going to get the prize international travel destinations. You won't be taking your children to Disneyland or movie studios or something like that, or exotic tropical locations. You'll be getting next to nothing. So now, if you look at the value of these, I'm just totting up some of the trips that, say, Australian politicians make, and they're gifted. They're being a lot of these gigs are between $50,000 and $80,000. The travel, and this is the hotel accommodation, the plane fares. Again, they're not traveling cattle class or something. So, and they may be allowed to bring along a few flunkies with them as well, and to reward flunkies who've done services for the globalist cause. Put out good quality anti-straight white male, say, propaganda online or something. Those people deserve rewarding. Maybe telling lies about Donald Trump, that he's a Hitler or something. That deserves some good rewards. And so the idea is you can double your income and also get lavish overseas holidays and vacations, all paid for by the taxpayer, just by doing what you're told. Why wouldn't you? Then on top of that, there's a sort of a discreet promise saying, well, look, whenever you decide to leave politics, there's some board of director positions, there's well-paid consulting jobs for NGOs and so on. So there's a vast network, globalist network where you can be rewarded. But if you don't toe the line, I'm assuming you even manage to hang on to your parliamentary position. If you don't toe the line, then you get none of these things. So why would you want to push it as just a backbench politician doing as you're told? You can do very nicely, thank you. You just have to mouth the globalist propaganda, the globalist lies, the globalist platitudes and talking points. So coming back to the leadership, now of the 4 contenders for the leadership, current contenders, I don't know if there's going to be more later, 2 are black. Now, one's a Nigerian chick with dreadlocks, who, the only reason she's got British citizenship is her mother arrived from Nigeria. Her mother arrived in Britain the day before she was born. So she manages to score, just by virtue of that, she manages to score British citizenship. Would you call her British? Well, I wouldn't, but anyway, she's got the piece of paper. She's a British citizenship. She's affirmative actioned into Parliament, into a safe electoral district. So she's given a prime electoral district and shoehorned into it. Why? I mean, why would you ask? Well, because she's a black chick, of course. So she's got a safe seat, and it doesn't have to do anything. There's no way she's going to lose that electoral district. So she can stay there and swan around pretending she's serving the people and so on. And she's a leadership contender, and thus fancies herself as a contender for prime minister. That's how low things have sunk. I mean, someone who is just an affirmative action black chick from Nigeria running around with dreadlocks and mouthing talking points. She's a fucking contender for the leadership of the once mighty Conservative Party of the once mighty British Empire. I mean, for God's sake, that's how low things have sunk. Then another contender is a black guy who's this seems quite pleasant, by the way. I mean, I don't think they're unpleasant people, or not from what I can see. So he's again, but he's just affirmative action flunky. He's got, as I understand it, he's got some sort of third-tier diploma in hotel management or some shit like that, or maybe catering. I think it could have been. And then he's affirmative act because he's black. He's affirmative actioned into Parliament, into a safe seat that he wouldn't have had a snowball's chance of getting on merit, not even a snowball's chance. And so he's in my view, in my opinion, the presence of both of those two is completely illegitimate. They shouldn't be there, never would have won it. They're both affirmative action stooges. Now, there's two white guys. One of them sounds like a limp-wristed little simp, and he's the sort of guy that would be the deputy HR manager, reporting to the really butchy lesbian or something. That would be that's how sort of I picture that guy, prime minister or leadership material. Excuse me. There's another guy who served in the armed forces and been served in the field, served on the front lines. When getting shot at, people trying to kill him and all that sort of stuff. Now that's a serious, I believe, this is a very serious service to your country, serving in the military like that, particularly very much if it's in a frontline type situation. So that's sort of laying your life down for the country and your fellow citizens, I think, is a very serious commitment to your country. Now, is he an impressive guy? Well, no, none of them are impressive, even slightly. And but if I had to pick one of the four, then I would pick him solely because of that he's laid his life down for the country. So that should count for something. Now, all of these four people, by the way, make Liz Truss look good. When Liz Truss was first sort of mooted as a prime minister, I thought it was a laughable sort of thing. She's just some punk chick who's in a high school debating club. I couldn't see her anything beyond that. For some first year, so undergrad, she still talks and mouth the platitudes of an undergraduate, in my view, and so a prime minister. But she was elected by the party membership. Given not a strong field of contenders, by the way, she was elected by the party membership, and she did appear to actually care about Britain and improving Britain independent of what the globalists were demanding. And so once they realised that she was going to go her own way on this, or certainly in some critical areas that the globalists want to continue absolute control of, as soon as they realised that, they just got rid of her and elected prime minister. And I've got a real problem with that. And again, Liz Truss actually looks good compared to these four. So I believe, and maybe it would have worked. Provided she gathered the brains around her, and she stuck to a course of I'm a British citizen, I am elected by the British people to serve Britain. As long as she stuck to that course, then she would have been better than any of the prime ministers from John Major onwards. So John Major came after Margaret Thatcher, and I think after in the latter couple of years of his, maybe longer, but around that time of his premiership, you could see, if you look back now, you can see he's caving one issue after another to the globalist cabal. And then Tony Blair is just a globalist stooge through and through. And then you look at like David Cameron, Theresa May, globalist stooges through and through. Boris Johnson looked like a gadfly, somebody who came out of left field and he would disrupt the thing. But he went down like a sack of shit and he became a globalist stooge. And of course, Keir Starmer, I mean, you couldn't get much more of a globalist stooge than him and his little team of schoolgirl flunkies. So anyway, this is where Britain is generally, and the contenders for the leadership. And what a shocking state, an unbelievable state. I mean, what would William Pitt or Robert Peel or any of these things they're looking at that, they wouldn't believe that it happened. But here we are, and what a tragedy it is. You've been with Tastas today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.